Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Angela La Petina Presents. I have a special guest from North Dakota, Mike Wagner. And also, we're going to learn more about his podcast and radio show. Let's go. Say that. Thank you so much for being on my show. It's an honor to have you someone like a big experience for over 30 years. And now in radio podcasts and but then even as a voiceover. Thank you so much, Mike. And this is for me is gonna be also a learning lesson having you in this show and thank you. I'm looking forward to build this friendship and to expand this community.
My pleasure, Angela. Anytime, and thanks for having me on too. And I understand your husband's a broadcaster from Argentina for 30 years, and we can share stories, and you can relay some stories and everything like that. I kind of got a leg up. It's like 35 and almost 40 years. It feels like I did take a little bit of sabbatical. We'll talk more about that. But broadcasting has changed a great deal from back in the day, where it's just like I'm going to start off right away here on your podcast as well too. That I basically just began my career back in 1982 after graduating high school, where I started off at WHCM radio at Harper College in Palatine, Illinois. That I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I was going to be a sports writer and I was going to broadcast or whatever else. But computer science was a big thing because it was the money thing. Basic, COBOL, Fortran, and
Yes, yes.
I love pressing buttons, everything else, but programming, I mean, that's a totally different ball game. But then when I
Yes.
saw a booth up there, and I walk up to it, and then it was just like, hey, you can sign up to be a DJ. And I started walking up. I felt like something was biting me. You know how like in Spider-Man, where Peter Parker felt something bite and his life transformed. It felt like when I walked up, something bit me, and it was called the radio bug. So I signed up. And here I was just doing maybe a shift a week or so, 2 hours, and I started building experience. I later did news, I did sports, and I wrote articles and everything else. And then I later went on to Southern Illinois University and pursue my radio TV career, realizing what I'm actually going to do for the rest of my life. And also the fact that I worked at a few stations, did the same thing, started building more and more experience, and then came up to Chicago. I started working at a couple of stations up there, and I took on some shifts and start building
Mm-hmm.
more experience like WRMN, WJKL. And then life kind of took a turn where it's like I started expanding, becoming a mobile disc jockey, playing at weddings and parties, and then being an MC at a number of public events. I took up some volunteer reading for the blind, and I also did a little bit of voice work off the side too, just for fun. And later on that I later got back into sports scene, WKTA, WNVR up in Chicago, where I broadcasted with some of the greats up there. And then, life kind of took a turn after a while, where I met my wife. And then, when you start having children, I kind of took a step back from broadcasting, where I wanted to focus on other things and raise a young family. And then I started getting into other sectors like audiovisual, theater, and
Yes.
management, and audio and video conferencing, running a conference center, hotel management, audio visual, running meetings, and working theater, and then I worked for a ministry for 8 years, and then it got to a point where people are asking me, it's like, how come you're not in the business? I said, because it wasn't an opportunity. And then my mom, give credit to her. Thank God she showed me a voiceover class where I could potentially attend, and I think that just lit an inferno in my system. And then I went over to that it just lit a spark in voiceover, which led me to going to Milwaukee, where I did some voiceover work for a real estate firm. Just hey, you can buy this house for like $100,000. These little real estate tours and everything. But I had a lot of fun with it, and I got back in the radio business over at WRLR in Round Lake, where I was a disc jockey. I was a sports producer, did play by play, and then all of a sudden, Bismarck, North Dakota came calling me from an Arizona consulting firm. I worked at KDKT for a few years as a consultant, interim general manager, and did some copywriting, did everything. I worked with some guys from Texas, and some guys from Oklahoma came. I wasn't needed. I later began KFYR in 2010 part-time, sports producing, fill-in, board op, and all of a sudden I got a show, and everything expanded to a podcast, which is the Mike Wagner Show, which I began in 2018. And this coffee mug, you'll see me raise up from time to time. This was a reminder that while we're in South Dakota with my family, that we actually bought this mug for $15. It was just a reminder that how precious opportunities are. And of course, I got it for $15 because the Broncos were so bad that year in 2018. It was cheap. So it was
Yes.
just, I had a little memory of that. I've had 900 great guests on, including yourself. And I mean, I got to say this, it's been an amazing journey, I got to say. And the fun's going to continue, continue, and continue, and continue. I mean, it's a journey. I got to say, it's a journey.
No, but what a fantastic, Mike! All the adventures and all the experience that you've been passed through, and not only that, I want to share this to the audience that most people from my audience, I'm sorry for redundancy, the same word, are people from the film industry, and for those people who are interested about do voiceover or things like that, they can contact you. And for the people that my followers, he has his shows are broadcasting in Spotify, Spreaker, iHeart, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, SoundCloud, YouTube, KFYR, Stitcher, Radio Public, and Amazon Music. So you have an extend platform, and also you have a business and all these things, and to promote other podcasters and things like that. So what a wonderful. Thank you. You're beautiful.
It certainly is. And the funny part was that doing interviews, it was like the least of my what I wanted to do. It was actually the least. That's the thing. Is it's like, the first two times, maybe in high school, whatever, as I did interviews, I was terrified. If I asked the wrong question, it's just like, cold sweat broke out of me. And then all of a sudden it just grew from time to time. And it later learned it became more of a conversation. I had one of my first interviews was Vince Evans from the Chicago Bears. We talked, and I asked a question and he wasn't sure, and I kind of broke out in the cold sweat, but he was a great guy. And I kind of ventured into I was working with a school and radio station, school paper, because it's more of a journalism style. Then I realized that interviewing in a journalistic style just wasn't my thing. And so I kind of just took interviews like on the back seat. I focused on voiceovers, being a radio personality, and getting into theater. And I mean, just all kinds, back then before the internet, it was pretty much limited. But now it's just like with the internet, you can do just about everything and anything possible. And it just keeps expanding, expanding, and maybe fragmented, but you have your own opportunity to become your own number one. And I actually started a podcast from a California publicist who reached out to me before, and I said, no, didn't fit the format. Second time, I simply said, I'll give it a try. What does it take? And he goes, nothing. I'll send it to you. I says, well, okay. So I got in practice with that. Sandy Helberg was my first guest on KFYR, and it was on a Saturday around this time. And I was just more nervous than anything else, getting out of the news segment, weather segment. I was just fumbling, sweating, and trying to get the shaking with on the knobs, the dials, putting on the phone, everything else, the controls, trying to segue. And after about a minute talking to Sandy Helberg, something, it became a conversation, just like having a cup of coffee with you. And we talked about his career, being in Mel Brooks, and his upbringing as well too. His parents survived the Holocaust, but he learned, just like you got to find humor in it. And he talked about his son Simon being successful. I later had Eddie Deason, I had Eric Morris, and I had Dennis Worth from Boston, and I later had Ron Dante, who sang the Archies' Sugar Sugar, and I think also venture onto other things like with Frank Piombo from a jazz guitarist out of New York City. Then I later had let's see, I did mention Dennis Worth. Let's see, I had Billy Craig from Brownsville Station, Smoking in the Boys Room, and I later had I think I'm trying to think. I had Tracy Young. She won an award for best DJ. And there's just so many people off the top of my head. Kenny Aronoff from John Cougar Mellencamp. He was a drummer, and not only he talked about his days of playing with John Cougar, play with Paul McCartney, Ringo Starr separately. He has his own coffee out, which I thought was amazing. And I have Marilyn McCoo and Billy Davis Jr., which are still around. They put out a Christmas album, and I got so many likes and views and comments from viewers and listeners and all that, along with Sherry Nelson and a few others in December 2020, and anywhere from 10 to 50,000 throughout that time. And that's what put me on the map at 162, finishing the top 200 in the U.S. that year. So that's really put me on the top. So, and I continue to have some great artists, and then I'll just give like a preview coming up. I got Catherine Genovese coming up next week, talking about her murder mystery. I've got comedian Andy Gross. He was on one of the tours as well too, talking about Jeff Dunham and Frank Torquism. And I also got coming up, and I've got I think I got I've interviewed so many people. Sometimes it's like I can't pinpoint to who I've really had. I got really uh, just go through my memory bank and try to pull them out. So I'll do better next time when I try to come up with some names. But these are names that come up right now. But when you're in a business, you tend to forget. But when an event comes up, you're like, hey, I know this, or I know that, or
Mm-hmm.
whatsoever. So that's this whole thing. You
Exactly.
really got to keep up. You got to keep up and basically just keep up. And of course, you'll learn the business too, that you'll get to know more people and working with other people, what they're like. I mean, you're actually here to listen to their story, not talk about yours. You listen to their story and be interested. And that's the key. You need to be interested in them.
Exactly. No, that's the beautiful thing to be a host because you're like you interview them, but it's like you build friendship, kind of friendship, and we are fans of them, and then we meet them and we make an interview, and it's like we build like a connection, and
Mm-hmm.
this is something we
Right,
take. It's like it's a beautiful advantage for
mhm.
us.
And it's pretty much it. You also had Dara, the amazing Irish British singer, and he had some music out there. I mean, we connected, and later went on to Leslie John Ben, who ran Diamonds FM, and there was also some other offshoots as well too. And of course, another offshoot is Victor Santiago, who's got the Don Vick show, and then there was
Hmm.
also let's see, Rebecca Mann with Rebecca Sounds Reveille, and she's out of
Hmm.
Texas. And I think there's also another one, comedian Alan Gitlin. I've him on the show on a regular basis. Comedians are just great to talk to. They just have like great stories to share. You'll laugh, you'll cry, and you'll be like, "What the heck?" And told me
It's
some
true.
uplifting stories, and had a great story about Jennifer Aniston. If you go to my podcast, a great story about Jennifer Aniston. Also, Vince McMahon from the XFL. Jeff Vaughn is a comedian from Kansas City, talks about golfing and his sales career, his dog, and everything else, and just shares life. And of course, Mickey Galina out of Florida too. Just put out a release and just talking about himself, what he's gone through, and everything. So you just have a lot of people that you experience with, and you can also relate. So that's what you're here to do.
Exactly.
You relate and get to know, you bond, and everything else. And also one of the comedians I had, Steve Bluestein, has a book. It was I can't think of the name right now. He was on the Tonight Show, being a fill-in host and a regular, and he was a comedy writer and he appeared in a number of comedies as well too. So you had that, and Leland Sklar, the bassist, he actually played bass for over 2,000 musicians, including Phil
Mm.
Collins, James Taylor, and you also had Jackson Brown, and you had
Wow.
many more. I mean, he just had great stories to tell, and he's from Milwaukee of all places, as well as born. So I mean, you just find little
Awesome.
connections here, there, everything. So I mean, it's just a great way to just build community too. So
Exactly.
yes, that's right. So I mean, just the experience as well too. I had Jim Peterick from what was it? Oh gosh, I'm trying to think of the name. Oh, what was it? Jim Peterick. He did Vehicle Man. He was with oh, I can't believe I forgot the name. Well, I think that'll come up later too. And he also wrote for Survivor 38 Special. I mean, you just learn about great people. That's the whole thing. So you can also share yourself about some of the guests you have, and we're here to help each other. If there's any way we can help you, let us know. We'd be glad to help.
Also, we can share guests, people that I've been interviewed before. I can forward to you, and likewise, you can forward to me, and that will be awesome.
Hmm. Yeah, yes, it would be too. And of course, I like to, hook up with a husband who's been Argentine broadcasting for 30 years. What's that like in Argentina? I guess that's a question too. You got broadcasting in Mexico, radio and everything else. It's like, what did they offer? The whole thing.
Exactly, exactly. No, it's true. And your show is very similar to, but kind of similar, we do interviews, musicians, filmmakers, and all these things. And like mine, but we start on this year on the second week of March. That's we because before I have a radio show on Radio Lumina, I'm still having with them because I share my podcast, and I prepare as a radio show with Martina Messer in United Kingdom. But before I was used to do more like ufology, mysterious, ancient civilizations, and all type of things. And suddenly some people start asking me for interview. The first one was Sean Graham and Jim Beaverham. And
Oh wow, okay.
they want to promote their songs inspired by the Beatles, Elsie Scott and Star Sailor. And I will tell them about you, and then it would be great if you interview them, because Jim Beaverham is a legendary singer as well, and he's been in the music industry also for, I would say, for over 30 years as well. And he has, both of them have a very interesting projects, and also their experience. But yes, and they were the first one to ask me for interview, and then more people were coming later until you officially start like Angela Petina Presents. Before there was the Ancient Radio Show, but now it's Angela Petina Presents.
Huh.
Yes.
That's rather interesting as well too. And Marvin Velasquez from the Philippines, he's been getting a following. So if your show, just ends up like say in the Philippines or India, or say like in Canada, Mexico, you can reach out to those people as well too. So I mean, that's just the best part. You can just speak to people universally, because we're pretty much speaking a universal language at this point.
Exactly, yes. And does your show is broadcasting in United Kingdom as well?
Well, my show is basically broadcasting on over 40 podcast platforms and heard in over 100 countries, like Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeart Radio. Also Anchor FM, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, Audible, and Apple Music.
But you're not there was no radio station over there. They are broadcasting your
everything is all on podcast platform. It's on the ones I've mentioned, like on iHeart Radio, YouTube, and anybody has a computer, anybody has a smartphone, if anybody's got an Apple Watch or any device like that, laptop or desktop, whatever it is, you can access the Mike Wagner Show anytime, themikewagnershow.com. You can also Google the Mike Wagner Show, and it'll come up with every podcast platform, Apple, Google Play. I've seen on IVFM, Radio Public, Podcast Notes. And,
okay, because if
you're yes, if you're interested, all the way down.
If you're interested, but as a volunteer, I can ask Martina from United Kingdom, Radio Lumina, and you can be part of our family if you want.
Okay. Well, I'm glad to be part with any family. That's the whole thing. It's just like, we're all interconnected. It's like a spider web. It's like you connect with this, you connect with that, connect. And, it's just like, connecting the dots, it's not like that, like you have the groups of clusters you have back in the day where it's like you're all in a clique. Now it's like we're all over the world. You connect, and there's some people that you may not like, or some people may not like you, but there's always others that like you as well too. So I think that's a whole part of the business as well too.
It's true. It's true.
Right.
And when you start with the Mike Wagner Show, when you start with that podcast show?
I started back in August of 2018, which I don't know when this podcast is going to air. It is pretty much 4 years I've started. I started off season 5 with children's singer, songwriter, legendary Rafi out of Canada, and Lindsay Monroe from Connecticut. They've been doing a duo together. I started with that, and then I had let's see, I'm trying to think who's my other guest. I got to pull up my calendar here, so I don't use Calendly or anything like that. I use a classic calendar like this, a notebook. I've had Dr. Nicole Tetro on neuroscience and how you connect with kids. I had author David Crew out of Boston, talking about Scholarly Square, Alcatraz 1962, The Big Escape, which inspired the famous 1973 movie, and I have Julia Sullivan talking about the bone necklace, about the Nez Perce War of 1877, which it's basically the war that should have never took place in the first place. And singer Corinne Gotti, she was a former contributor to Fox News, and she'll be having a new song called Human. So that's gonna be coming up as well too. And I also got Laura Devora, another author, talking about abuse that she went through. And I got Tony Moore, the singer out of London, England, and he was a keyboardist for Iron Maiden and Cutting Crew. He was the one responsible for playing the keyboards on I Die in Your Arms Tonight. He has a song called Let Your Heart Begin to Sing. And then I got Catherine Genovese, as I mentioned, with her book that's also coming out, which I'm trying to think. Ray Michaels as well, and he was in all the Avengers movies, Transformers and everything. He's got some movies coming out. And I got the Hammond brothers, Gail and Dale, who have been opening up for Wayne Newton, the Statler brothers, and they've been in the business for 40 years. They're in the Hall of Fame. And I got those coming up as well, too. And
Awesome.
I also got later on as well, too. I got Robert Shemin from Fox News talking about the real estate market. Had a great conversation. Had Suzanne Perez, and she's an author of a book coming up. Chance Martin, he's out of a small African town, Tanzania, was one of the poorest communities, and he's urging people to basically just help out. And I got Smiley Ghostal, talking about her place when India and the world. So I've got a great guest coming up on the Mike Wagner Show. Coming up this month as well, and there's many more to come. I encourage everybody to follow the Mike Wagner Show on Facebook. There's also Mike Wagner voiceover, Mike Wagner personality, Mike Wagner KFYR, and I'm on social media. Send me a friend request. I love to bring you on board. So I'm very easy to talk to. Yes.
Yes, that's wonderful. And what interview give you more impact to you? What you feel more like more impact, more impressive in your life?
I think the ones that really impact me are the ones they talk about the stories like with PTSD and how they suffered. And of course, right now PTSD is the big issue that we're dealing with in this country. And of course, you got the pandemic. You also got depression. You got the upcoming economy, and you got just science and everything else. I hear stories about PTSD all the time, and how do they overcome? How can you support? How can they help? And everything else. And there's also I've had brain doctors on that's saying that this is how you can improve your brain health. And here's also some ways you can cure the common cold, the pandemic, and not go to doctors. I've went through a stretch of having guests on that talk about CBD, talk about hemp and marijuana, just being a legal drug before it became illegal, and how to actually has a lot of health benefits. And I have people saying, this is how you can be healthy, how you can eat right, and everything else. It's not just all entertainment and fluff. And when the next film's coming out, the next hit single's coming up, and everything else, it's like educating the public at the same time. It's like, okay, what can you do? How can we help? And everything like that. So, the film fest you talk about as well. And I've got Lisa D'Souza, who'll be coming up later in the year, talking about the Santa Clarita International Film Fest. And I've had Dances with Films and La Jolla Film Fest. And, we work with Film Fest. We work with publicists and authors and, a lot more people and everything else. So I think the big impact is that, how one's life is altered by one event and how they overcome. So I think that's a big thing right now. So it's like,
Awesome.
how do people go through adversity? How do you get out of it? And what can people do? That's the whole thing.
Yes. And what about your radio shows, the KFYR radio in Bismarck and North Dakota? So you do broadcast on weekends, or what about that?
Well, actually, I fill in on weekends. I just do some producing, and iHeart Media had actually laid off a number of local people, so they're streaming, and I just join, help out whatever I can, sports produce, fill in on shifts, play by play, everything like that. I stay connected to the Bismarck, North Dakota community, and I do these podcasts just on my own here. So I feel it's been boring to do after a while. It's just one of those things, like I mentioned, that it's like the least on the radar. But then as the Sandy Helberg interview came out, it's like I got some positive feedback. I had a few more guests on, more positive feedback, and next thing you know, it's by means of the internet, the interviews just spread like wildfire. Everybody wanted to get on, and I get some top name publicists and top name authors, comedians, singers, and everything else just want to get on and just talk about themselves. So basically, it's not about me; it's about the guest. That's just the whole part of the program. It's all about the guest, what they do, what they've done, how they got there, and my goal is to basically just encourage people, to help people, and just say, hey, this is what they can do, how I can help, and just put in a good word to everybody. So it's like right now we need to help people at this time.
That's true. I agree with you. And also, your show was featured in New York Weekly Times as the best podcast radio with TV shows in 2020. You were ranked at the 40th place. How you feel when you found that?
Something that's a really funny story because I was surfing through the internet and I was getting ready to get up for work and go to bed. And all of a sudden, a message popped up on my messenger saying that here are the top 50 podcasts. For some reason, why am I being sent this? So I click on and I'm scrolling through the list. Number one, of course, you got Joe Rogan. He's going to have his number one until he's dead. And of course, you got Adam
Mm-hmm.
Carolla, you got Michelle Obama, and I think you got NPR News, and scrolling down the list and everything. And here I am, number 40 out of 50. I was not expecting this. And I thought I wouldn't be in the top 50. And here I am. It's like, I just could not believe it. My mouth went, I was not expecting this at all. And then I posted it, and all of a sudden I'm getting phone calls, messages, text, and everything else. And here I am, just acknowledging people and this and that, and just congratulating people and say thank you and everything else. And it got to be 1:30. It's like I was still just wired by what happened. It's like 1:30. I had trouble
Mm-hmm.
falling asleep. And I looked and went, I could not believe this. Like, I did not expect this at all. I was not counting on, trying to get a huge ranking or national recognition, just get out there, do my job. And here I am. It's like, I think what I did back in the day, the pandemic and whatever else, and just, being put in the top 200 and a number of charts. It's like, I think that's what put me in that ranking as well. So some say I even beat out, Adam Carolla and Bill Kirk. So I just look back, I just kind of laugh at the whole thing. So,
Yes, yes. And also, but you were featured in the Hollywood 411, something like
mhm.
that.
I was I was I
And
was on I was on that too. It's the same thing, and there was just with top 30, top 40 people, and another publication where I was in the top 75, and a good portion remained there to this day. And I'm waiting for a new publication to come out on the top 50, top 75, top 100 podcasts, and I've
mm-hmm.
seen some new entries come in, and some have beaten me out, and I look and say that I'm not worried about what they do. I worry about what I do. And the whole key is consistency. It's like you gotta stay consistent on the times, how much you put out, the guests and everything. And I try to look for a podcast, sometimes they'll air, sometimes they don't. Sometimes it's different times, sometimes it's just totally different format. And the whole key to success is you've got to stay consistent. That's what I'm doing 5 days a week. Consistent, consistent, consistent.
And not give
That
up. And like sometimes, like in my case, I feel a little bit down when I don't have too many followers. But my husband says, don't worry about those things now. Just continue, continue, and don't stop because the followers comes later. And also, pues it's just how to play with the social media. That's sometimes that's the key.
the one thing I do have to say is that numbers are overrated. I mean, you can have like,
Mm,
1,000 people, listen to your show right away, but then where's the next thousand are they gonna tune into the next program afterwards or the next one afterwards? They could be gone. So it's just like you may
mm.
have like, 1, 5, 10, 20, whatever. That's gonna build over time. So it's just more of the quality of the program is what really matters at this
That's what
point.
he says.
It's a
Hmm.
quality of it. So it's just like I've seen some podcasts where it's like, they put all the glitz, the glamour, the visual eye candy and everything. And the visuals are great, but the podcasts are lousy. And I've seen some podcasts where they're just plain as dirt, but the content is excellent. That's just the
It's
whole
true.
thing. And what stands out with mine is that I'm here just to deliver just pure content. Back in the days of classic radio, there were no cough buttons, no sneeze button, no swear buttons or 5-second delays or anything like that. It's just what you said, just came out over the airwaves. You cough, you sneeze, a cat walks in, dog barks, baby cries, or a record
Hmm.
skips. You mispronounce a word. It's like you can't go back to it. There was no tape or anything. So it's like, it was just an open medium, back in the day. So I wanted to recapture that essence of classic radio versus, just you and I having a conversation, just having a cup of coffee, just talking over stuff. It's never edited or anything like that.
No, it's true.
Stuff will
It's
happen.
true. And not
Hmm.
only that, that everything that, especially that you are, all your experience that you are in advice you're sharing to the audience is helping other people who wants to start their career or their business as a podcaster. Is very valuable advice. And like in my case, yes, yes, I appreciate that. And what about the your ultraviolet Giotto? You were voiceover. Can you what was your experience of that? Was it a documentary or?
Well, actually, what it was, I belonged to a group called Radio Daddy, which no longer exists, and I think that's how I ventured into the internet. And this also led me to a couple of shows in the UK, which is Friday Night Jukebox. I did, what was it, WLS Radio or Radio London, and I think there was a couple others in the UK and Ireland where I was asked to do some volunteer work, and I picked up a lot of listeners out there where they're like, wow, where this guy come from? And I think that just kind of took off and ventured into Radio Daddy. And there was a thing on there where it said, this so and so's looking for just to do a documentary in ultraviolet giallo. So it's like I asked for the script, I read it, I got it. Next thing you know, it was on Discovery News Channel, and just got a lot of views and likes, and I think that established myself as international voiceover artist at the time. So I'm looking to get back into it in a way, but right now my podcast is doing really well right now. So at this point, it's like it was something I could say I was recognized internationally on Discovery News Channel, and I was on a couple other channels. So even the local ones back in Chicago. So it's great to just get something that's like national, and now it's just like I'm being heard nationally and globally at the same time as well. It's just like we're on nationally and globally, and anybody can access the
It's true.
podcast 24/7, 365.
Absolutely, I agree with you. And yes, like nowadays, there's no limits because everything is online. It's not like in the 80s, when the 70s, even the 90s, that if you want to listen to a radio show, a television show has to be locally, almost nationally, and then start cable with some TV shows from Mexico exchange with United States, and step by step we're expanding until now it's unlimited. So there's no excuses for people not to reach their dreams. It's just like you says, the key is to be consistent and not give up.
And I think the technology has gotten a lot easier as well too. It's like you had to learn electronics, you had to learn editing with a razor blade, or working with 10,000 pots, buttons, and buses and everything else, and how to patch audio cords from one source to another, or just
Mm-hmm.
like hook up manually a remote with transmitters and everything else. Now it's like everything's all done over the internet, and you can just do everything with a click of a mouse, and you can also work it with any phone or whatever. So it's just like technology has really gotten easier. If you want to find out something, you can always go to YouTube and do a how to. By the way, you can also back in the day you had to go to a library and look up the in a card catalog, or whatever. Nowadays it's all done right here on a computer. I mean, it's gotten really simple, to the point where it's like even kids are doing it these days. So
It's
that's
true. Yeah,
that's
everything
where it
goes
comes from.
goes
Yes.
very fast. Like for example, now you put I'm interviewing you that you're in Chicago, right? You're in Chicago, and
I'm actually in Bismarck, North Dakota. I've been in Chicago for
North
30
Dakota.
years, but we're still in
Ah,
Central Time. So we're like,
okay.
just parallel to you guys in Texas.
Yes, it's true. It's true. Yes, but North Dakota, and then on Saturday will be my friend Natasha. She's an actress and United Kingdom, and then in the a little bit in the afternoon, an actor and producer from India, and then the following day, a spiritual challenger expert for New Zealand. So. No, for New Zealand, from Australia. I'm so impressed, how Japan to one place to another place. That's
Sounds like
beautiful.
you have a worldwide array. And I thought about getting your husband on the show and talk about his experience.
That would be awesome. Yeah. No, but he doesn't like to be. He says I did radio so many times, for so many years, and he says I don't want to broadcast nine. I don't want to perform nine anymore. Nine anymore. He was always hiding. He preferred to do all that technical and stuff and review my work, and he give me don't do this, do that way, and he guide me. So without him, this will not possible. Yes.
And you're certainly doing a nice job at it as well too. And he's been for 30 years. And who are some of the guests that he had on his show as well?
That would be awesome. Yes. Now he's more concentrated now with the comics and animations, especially with the comics. And he's working on two books that we expecting to be released this year and the following year. So his main passion is the comics.
Nice. Okay.
And also he's doing animation as well. So that's his main interest and passion. So I support him on that. Like me, because I like to be more network, connecting people and meeting new people, and more than in communications.
Okay.
Even my education background has nothing to do with this, because I have an economics, so I have nothing to do with this. But this I always liked all this about the communication field.
Hmm. That's rather interesting as well too, and I appreciate what you do as well too, and wishing you success and everything like that. And I was going to say too that I'm going to throw a little plug in. The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. If you're looking for a professional website without breaking your budget, Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offering fast, affordable custom web designs at below the competition way. Call 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 20% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, I'd like to give a shout out to our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Molson-Zia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, you love Missing by Mia Molson-Zia, available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. It's fast-paced, intriguing, unforgettable twist. Takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers, 1 target. It's not where you are, by the way. I'm kidding. So grab your copy today for Goes Missing. And also, Mike Wagner Show can be heard on MikeWagnerShow.com, 40 podcast platforms. Also, HamiltonRadio.net, Diamonds FM, Oldies Radio, and more. Just take us with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter today. And if you like great gift ideas, Amazon.com, Mike Wagner Show podcast, t-shirts, pop sockets, throw pillows, tote bags, hoodies, baseball gear, and more. Amazon.com/the Mike Wagner Show. And also, me and Molson Zia's got some great books, merchandise, and check that out as well, too. And you can also support me, too. The MikeWagnerShow.com, Anchor FM, PayPal.com at Mike Wagner Voiceover. So there's ways you can get involved, too. So I just want to throw a little plug in for you, for your listeners. That's all. So
That's good. That's good. I'm gonna cut the audio what you're saying. I wanna broadcast in my radio show so for those people can know about you.
something we talked about earlier as well, too, like, with these bloopers and everything. I was thinking more of Jackie Chan. He has these bloopers all the time, take 25, I'm gonna like that. And it's like, I'm gonna hit you with a boing, bounce off like
Mm-hmm.
that. So it's just like, I think the last Jackie Chan I saw was it Kung Fu Yoga, and I was expecting those bloopers in the end, but this time they didn't do it. But I guess kind of miss those days, like these bloopers and all that, they have in the end. You came up with a great idea where it's like if you did some video editing, whatever, it's like you can take bloopers of whatever, and then people can just laugh like in the end or something. So, or even
Awesome.
like if you have a channel you can subscribe as well too. Here's some extras you can do, like these bloopers, cat jumping in front of you, dog barking, or cat's like, can I have some water? Interruptions like that. And I had Lorraine Landon on my show, and she showed me a couple of cats, a couple of dogs, and a bird and everything. It's like, we talked about animals and everything. So I mean, it was amazing. Wonderful actress, also loves animals. You find something about people, which is just amazing. So
Absolutely, absolutely. Mike, if you have anyone in your show, who you will choose and why?
if I wanted one person, can I do two?
Sure.
Okay. Well, this is probably a long stretch. I like to have Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr both on my show, talk about their careers and some interesting stories and, some tips. And, I like to hear their stories, how they got there. And, Ringo Starr, choosing the Beatles over another group, $5 difference. And in fact, I was just thinking about, I had some classic rockers on the show, and there's a bass player who passed away a decade ago, sadly, John Wetton. He played with King Crimson, played with also Asia and a few others as well too. And he died early, and I wanted to hear about his career as a bass player and more. And I think there was another too, which I was trying to think. I think it was Paul Walker from the Fast and the Furious series, and he was gone too soon. And quite some others. But I have a huge laundry list. I just take it as it comes, and who I like to have. I like to have more of the A-listers as well, too, coming on board. Matthew McConaughey, it's like, why he left Hollywood, why he did this. And he also found out too that Robin Givens, she was in the news, with her bad marriage with Mike Tyson. And she showed up in a couple of Christian films making a comeback. Morgan Fairchild was the same way. So, and of course, yeah, Kirk Cameron, talking about his Christianity in Hollywood. So it's like, just a lot of things, like you get them in, it's like, why are they doing this and everything else? I mean, I got a huge laundry list, but it's just like, oh my gosh, yeah, just a lot. And if I could talk to somebody, from government and everything else, or top doctors, whatever, I mean, that'd be great too. So it's like, right now I've got my people to take care of, and there keep giving me people. So as long as they give me guests, they contact, I'm happy.
I'm the same as you. I feel the same. Yeah, I'm very open, I'm very open to interview anyone who wants to share something, interesting or something, impressive, or, maybe skills, or maybe, it can be, I always say it's from art to entrepreneur skills. I'm open to anyone. Like, for example, I interview Deb Chatke, and she is specialized in quantum hypnosis, and she connects with aliens. And she was featured in a documentary with the director John Joss. So it was very interesting. So also diverse topics for diverse tastes for many people. So and I think the aliens and all these things nowadays is a very attractive topic to talk
Hmm.
about.
And some say, or even expose themselves as drones, or see little things in the sky as well too. And they're saying that the time could be coming pretty soon too. And I had Howard Bloom on my show a few times, and the reality of people colonizing on Mars. We got the space race. We had who was it, Richard Branson versus Elon Musk in the race for space, and that was a big thing. And what's coming up in brand new government, the economy, and also within environment and everything else. So it's just like, a lot of things will be coming up, what's happening in the world. And we had some difference makers, what's happening in the financial markets, how do you get ahead, and what to predict and everything like that. So it's like you have people are, predicting the future and whatever else. So and I had
Exactly.
yes, that's
Hmm.
right. So, I mean, I had a huge laundry list, and I'll make a better effort to pluck some guests, but I don't want to be singling guests out. That's the whole thing. It's like all 900 plus of my guests are really special to me, including you as well, too.
Thank you so much.
Coming
Likewise.
up as well, too. So it's just like, and my wife asked me recently, when are you gonna start writing about stuff? Like, well, I thought about writing a book. So it's very slow, it's very sure, but I'm not setting a deadline to it. So it's like, I'm not done yet. I'm too much fun. So
It's true. It's true. And this is a question I ask to everybody. What advice you can share to those people who want to start their dreams in this business?
well, the one thing I have to say, first of all, the advice, if they want to start their dreams and make it a reality, is first of all, find out what your gifts are, what God has given you, what you're blessed with, and what's in your DNA. So it's like you got to find out what your talents are really are, what your interests lie, and what you really enjoy doing. And you take all that and you put it together, and you make it pretty
Hmm.
much your career, your passion, or a hobby, or whatever it is, your calling and everything else. And if you're having trouble finding out your talents or figuring out your talents, just go through life experiences, ask some friends, take some tests, and just run off a checklist what you like, life experiences. And if you're having trouble, get some professional help to identify those talents. So, and I'm seeing too many people out there that waste their talents at jobs that the money is great, but they really hate their jobs.
It's true.
It's
It's
just a
true.
sad story where people work jobs just for the money, but really they hate it. And they talk about, this is what I really want to do, but the money is too good just to get out. And I just simply say that if you're a job you really hate, it's like, time to get out and start doing something you really love doing. So, just my best advice is just to get out there and really discover your talents, what you really love doing, and also be very persistent at what you do as well. Persistence is the whole key.
Yes, I will remember that all the time. If I start feeling like a little bit down, I will start remember your word, consistent and persistence.
That's true. I like that. Consistency and persistence. And of course, just recognize what your real talents are. And there might be some hidden talents that you may not know about. You never know.
It's true.
I
It's
I
true.
enjoy cooking. And that kind of takes the heat off a lot of things. I like to grill on weekends as long as it's not hot. I like to, cook up new foods, try new things, and learn new techniques. And my wife and I like to cook as well too. And
That's
I was taught to
nice.
make great grilled cheese sandwiches or grill a steak or hamburgers or be creative with pizza. So it's just like be creative with a bunch of things. It doesn't have to be like in a certain field, like broadcasting can be like in other things. It can be like say with being outdoors or being in a sport or maybe in fashion or something. It's like you can have offshoots about just about everything or something completely different. Maybe turn to an offshoot. You never know.
Exactly, exactly. No, pues thank you so much for your advice and people like me, like I'm new on this and I appreciate a lot and I'm pretty sure that those people who are will be watching this interview will learn a lot from you. Thank you so much, Mike. It was an honor to have you on my show.
And thank you as well too, Angela. And it's my pleasure as well too. And you can also catch me on the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, heard on over 40 podcast platforms. Also on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, LinkedIn, and more as well too. And I'll be coming to more platforms very soon. And Angela, it's been a great honor. And thank you very much. You've been absolutely amazing.
And thank you so much, Mike, for being on my show again and looking forward to do more and to share more updates about you.
Sounds good. Greatly appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a good
Bye-bye
night.
now.
He
Bye-bye.
wears socks that aren't a pair, blue jeans and brown hair, and all the world he doesn't seem to care. We haven't had much time, but I already call him mine. I can't wait any longer, I need him here, oh boy, I want you. See him over there with the curly, curly hair. He smiles all the time, oblivious that I wanna